And now, without any further ado, prepare to hear and listen to this evening news. My respirationist, fellow Bavarians or wordist, it gives me such a great pleasure to come to you and address you on this weekend of the 4th of July. It's celebrated yesterday. We're continuing into the weekend right now, Saturday and Sunday. And it was a celebration of 250 years of independence for the United States. All right, and I was thinking about in this period, there's been a lot of scientific advancement that has taken place. And something that all of us have become very familiar with, especially in the area of biology, is the fact that we have letters that this body carries. Letters that are found in our DNA code. Letters that we did not write them in there. We discover them. And we began to see their behavior and the protocol, and the way they work inside of ourselves. And that's all these letters that are able to keep us together and keep all flesh. So you will begin to understand, we have begun to understand in the area of biology that as beings of flesh, this flesh is a transporter of words, of codes, if you please, okay? The DNA is nothing but a code. It's 4 letters, the ACTG. Each letter stands for something, but in any case, each initial ACTG, those are the letters. And those letters are the ones that are governing everything about who we are, especially in the body of the flesh. And there's a lot of studies that have been done on those letters. And a lot of people understand that these letters are also like fractal antennas that communicating within, not among only the cells, but connecting to everything in the frequencies that are found outside of our cells, outside of everything, in all of the organic world. So there's an amazing connection that goes on. So these things are not there by accident. It's not the work of Chronos. And what do I mean by Chronos? Chronos is what they call evolution. The scientists call evolution, that after certain time has passed, all this random atoms colliding finally create some sort of order and letters are formed. All this, hogwash that people have grown to believe in. But that is not the case, as you will discover. And I'm going to make you aware that everything has been intelligently planned. And so these letters have been there. They form, in each cell. They are there in the nucleus of each cell. And each cell that contains hundreds of mitochondria. So each cell to me is what I call a heaven on earth. A single cell, because it can create a whole biopolis. That's what the biologists call it. When the biologists in schools, they send assignments to kids, they have them draw a city to compare into what a living cell that we have in our bodies is like. Like the nucleus is like the town hall where the laws are kept. And the cytoplasm is like the lakes. And so they make a whole city that will correlate to the idea of what a cell is. So if people that are not theologians, but people that are just biologists, they have been able to make tomes and tomes and volumes of observation that they have written down just to see how, the cell comports, the behavioral cells and the protocol of their functionalities. See, books have been written about that, tomes and tomes, libraries have been creating just by observing that, and yet we have not written a single one of those letters. We are just being observers. Then you understand that we have been magnificently put together. Remember the little song? I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works. All of that is in Psalm 139. Verses 7 and verse 14. So verses that I love to sing, and I put it into a song. But the thing that we have been magnificently put together. You understand? And this is what is coming out in the last 100 years, we have come to understand in the area of biology that this flesh is the place in which all this communication and all these codes are taking place. So we're not the ones that created a programming language. We learned to codify and make languages, to run computers, but the codes are already, the coding has existed in our flesh a long time ago. And we have just barely begun to catch up with it. So that's what you need to understand. So there are these letters that are able to do the work they're supposed to do, and we can only observe them, and they know what they're doing, to put our bodies together, to communicate with one another, and all these things on the cellular level. Those letters that can do that, I call it energeticals. Energeticals. It's like putting the word energy and ethical together, because it's an energy, has a force that moves this flesh, and it's ethical in the sense it has order. It has a purpose for what it has to do. So it's called energetical. To me, that's my modern word for Elohim. Okay, Elohim means power also, but energeticals. So we have letters, those letters that know what they're doing inside of each one of our cells, not only in the Homo sapiens, but in all the world that require the use of cells, from plants, all the organic world, from insects, from everything on the oceans. All of that are run by energeticals. So one thing we're beginning to understand is we need to begin to know ourselves in our totality of ourselves from the start of the cellular level. We are nano beings. Nano beings means we are very tiny. You understand? And then it's the agglomeration, the accumulation of all this tiny that put this whole body. And so this body is a whole universe of nanotechnology. Okay? Nano just means very tiny, very small. And so it takes a whole bunch of us on the cellular level to make a whole body of flesh. Like the one you see in front of you right now, or the one that you possess yourself. So it's time for us to begin to grow in awe of how magnificently we have been put together, and how magnificently we have been packaged at this hour. In Psalm 139, David is in awe of three things. What I call the three R's. At the beginning of you read Psalm 139, he's in awe of the world of thought, of how before he can utter a word, or muster the strength to do it, it's already there, and it's just magical the way that it happens. So this is the world of rumination, the world of thinking. He found that was a very fascinating, the world of rumination, to be able to think and ponder, the world of thoughtfulness. And then the next thing that he was in awe of is the world of the air, what the spirit is. That the air is found everywhere. No matter where you go, the air is there. And that's the world of respiration. He thought that was a magnificent, dynamic, the world of respiration. So he was in awe of the world of rumination, thinking, the world of respiration. And at the end there, he's in awe of how he's put and formed together in his mother's womb, and how everything is assembled and placed. He was in awe of the world of regeneration. So the world of rumination kept him in awe. The world of respiration was in awe. And the world of regeneration was the three things that he was in awe, astonished by how in all of that, in all of these dynamics of these three sciences, these are sciences, and that's the word das. In Hebrew, the word das, science, means intimacies. In the intimacy of your thoughts, in the intimacy of the air, and in the intimacy of regeneration, in the midst of these three intimacies, voila, your existence, is carried on. And he thought that was magnificent, because so that's what occupied his mind. So that's why the scripture said that, David was a man after God's own heart. He kept track of himself in the most minutest detail. He did not lose sight of how magnificent he had been assembled and put together. And that's what we need to get back to now. We have diminished our value in the sense that we look at ourselves the way Carl Sagan, thought of human beings. He thought that the humans is nothing. What the value of a human is. Once you burn it and you turn it into ashes, it's like 35 cents when he turns into carbon. He completely devalued what it means to have the living flesh, and what it means to have the intimacy of the air, the intimacy of the rumination, the thoughts, that are guiding the cells, that are guiding the communications, that are taking place within that. He completely devalues that. It's just like the people that try to tell you, to try to teach you the science of the planets, and they try to compare you what is the Earth like in comparison to different galaxies and to different big planets. So at the end of the day, you feel insignificant. We're not here to do such, wild things. We have to recall how magnificently we have been assembled and put together. And so do not let the wicked guide you, and think less of you than what God has gone out of his way, to make you be for him in the here and now, so that you can have here fellowship with him in the here and now, understanding his thoughts, understanding his concerns, being able to show you what it is to be a real father, that when he's going to give birth to you, that's where the real character consistency takes place. The problems that all the AI are having right now in keeping character consistency so they can keep on the different things that they can do when they make movies. So that character consistency has to do with each one of the codes in your DNA that is able to duplicate, your cell every second of the day, because every second of the day, 3.8 million cells are being born, brand new. And that's character consistency to the max. All these things that the AI is trying to project at us at this hour, we already had it going within ourselves for many a millennia already. You understand? So do not let this world make you forget, how magnificently you have been assembled. And we need to go back to our nano size, our cellular level, and understand that in the cell, from a single cell, volumes and volumes, libraries have been put together. So it's time for you to study and understand the magnificence that each one of your cells represents, for the name of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, for the name of your Creator. And from there, take courage.